Mutahar has just been exposed for lying on his YouTube channel over the span of the last 10 years. Now, in this video, we're going to be tackling a lot of different allegations that have come out about Mutahar in the last couple of days here, but the main allegation has been that over these 10 years, he's been lying about being an engineer. He's also been claiming, despite, having daily uploads and clearly being incredibly successful on YouTube, that YouTube isn't his full-time job. It's a side gig for him. But on top of that, where he lives, there's legal consequences for lying about being an engineer, something like fines that could lead up to $10,000. But it's also starting to look like once this shit has hit the fan, Mutahar has gone really quiet, except for him privating videos that were including evidence that was brought forward by these expose videos, and he might even be censoring the word engineer in his comment section. The last 10 seconds before we jump into this, if you're new here, end up enjoying this video, consider subscribing. Really helps out the channel, and it's just a button press away. And if you end up hating me later, just another button press. Also, if you think my coverage was entertaining, useful, and want to get this out in front of more people, giving this video a like really helps it boost in the algorithm. But regardless of if you do either of those things, just thank you for watching my video. Now, the video that kick-started this drama comes from a guy named Nikandros. This is his channel, and then you can see right here, Mutahar has been a fake engineer for 10 years. This is 9 days ago, and this video has blown up. It's approaching 500,000 views, and it goes fully in detail, showcasing an insane amount of evidence that Mutahar has been lying about being an engineer for nearly a decade. Now, I'm sure most of you know who Mutahar is. He runs this channel here, SomeOrdinaryGamers, sitting at nearly 4 million subs here. And like the description suggests, he does Let's Plays, commentaries, reviews, hardcore raging, but mainly I think a lot of people know him for his commentary. He does a lot of tech review stuff where he goes over tech. He's a big Linux guy from how I understand it. I've been a casual watcher of Mutahar for a couple years now. I pretty much check out his game reviews, things like that. He also dabbles in a little bit of drama. So, I'm tuning in here and there when he's got something to say. But now that he's become the center of a recent drama, he's gone very quiet. Matter of fact, it's been now a week since he's posted. I think the first allegation that we should dive into to kind of set ourselves up, in the same way that Nikandros actually introduced these claims, is starting with that being a part-time YouTuber, that YouTube is not his full-time job.
Based on my findings, Mutahar has consistently claimed that YouTube isn't his job.
Hey, YouTube isn't my job. Thank God my job isn't YouTube.
YouTube is not my job.
YouTube is not my job.
YouTube is not my job.
I use YouTube as a hobby. This is not a job for me, okay?
He works a regular 9 to 5.
Like, I work a regular job every day. I go to my office, I work, I come home, I cut together the video that I recorded the night, or 2 nights or whatever before, and I post that on the internet.
Mutahar's also insisted throughout his career that he is an engineer.
I'm an engineer.
I'm a fucking engineer. I'm a goddamn engineer. I'm an engineer.
As an engineer, being an engineer, I don't have to tell you as an engineer. I'm just a dumb engineer. I'm an engineer.
Now, a big part of introducing that first, YouTube is a part-time thing first, is that I think it's really important to set that, because a lot of this is very clearly tied to Mutahar's ego. It seems like a lot of this claim and also the engineering claim, like these come from a place of either like insecurity or some kind of ego that I think we understand the reasoning behind that on this channel specifically. But it's also setting up this storyline that, okay, if YouTube is not the full-time job, what is? Well, apparently it's engineering, being a cybersecurity specialist, day trading. Matter of fact, Nikandros made a small timeline going over these different jobs that Mutahar has claimed to have.
Before YouTube, Mutahar did the computer, programming, cybersecurity work he thinks entitles him to call himself an engineer. Between 2013 and 2015, he's studying his videography diploma. From 2015 to 2020, he's a video editor, and from 2021 onwards, he's a day trader, investor, and eventually the CEO of his own company that does asset management and property development. He's also calling himself an engineer the whole time. We already know he's not an actual engineer, but is he actually a business owner? Because there's some weird inconsistencies in the things he says about it as well.
And like Nikandros points out in his video, there's multiple different types of engineers, which Mutahar claims to be multiple different kinds of an engineer.
I'm a computer engineer. Dude, I'm a fucking computer engineer.
I'm a YouTuber. Why are you asking me?
And I'm just like a computer engineer by default. Like, I'm a
in computer engineering.
Now, specifically where Mutahar lives, there are certain types of engineers that are like having that title is protected by law. And it does just so happen that the type of engineer that Mutahar claims to be is one of those protected titles. So it does end up being a legal issue at the very least where he lives, not saying, you know, morally is that good or bad. It's just, you know, legal implication of claiming what Mutahar is claiming ends up making it look a bit worse for the guy.
In the United States, people throw around the word engineer like candy, but in Canada, it's a bit more protected, especially in Ontario where Mutahar lives. Now, I do want to give the disclaimer that I'm not a lawyer or a Canadian. Based on what I've read, it's actually illegal to call yourself an engineer if you are not a licensed engineer. The Ontario engineering regulatory body, Professional Engineers Ontario, claims to take offense to even titles like software engineer being used instead of software developer. For him to be able to legally call himself a computer engineer or an engineer in general, he would need a 4-year degree, 4 years of training, and to pass the National Professional Practice exam.
So that's kind of where the issue lies. Like, we get into the legal aspect of it, but okay, you know, do we have proof that Mutahar has gone through, gotten the certificate, has like taken the test that he's needed to, gotten the permits, the licenses that he needs to officially call himself an engineer? But before we get ahead of ourselves with that, he doesn't just claim to be a computer engineer.
I'm a video engineer now. I think I know how this shit fucking works.
Speaking out of an engineer, like if I wasn't a computer science engineer, I wouldn't speak about Elon being an idiot. But as an engineer, yeah, I'm gonna call him a fucking idiot because he does do idiotic statements.
This is why, as a cybersecurity engineer,
A computer engineer is very much a real thing, but a video engineer or a broadcast engineer isn't a real professional engineer. Computer science isn't an engineering discipline, so computer science engineer doesn't really make sense. Cybersecurity engineer is once again using the word engineer as just a job title. Mutahar clearly wants the prestige of being perceived as an engineer, given that he's been calling himself an engineer for the past 10 years.
So 3 separate titles of different types of engineers. Okay, now normally this wouldn't really matter very much, right? I would say if it just went as far as Mutahar claiming he was an engineer of these types, like, okay, so what, it doesn't matter. That ends up kind of being a bigger no-no if you have a, you know, a reputation at stake because you make commentary videos where you say you're an engineer to bolster your arguments.
He uses this title to make himself more authoritative.
But I'm an engineer. I know how this stuff is going, so I'm not even speaking out of pocket right here, okay? If you want to disagree with me, feel free, but you're actually wrong. As somebody who is a computer, you know, engineer, somebody who understands computer code, for instance, hearing Elon talk about computers and anything code related is actually mind-bogglingly stupid.
Now, if you've been following me through the pirate software drama as of recent, I'm going to be sounding like a little bit of a broken record here, but even just from the points you just saw him make, where he was like, you know, having this experience, I don't doubt that Mutahar does. The dude loves Linux. I've seen some of his stuff where he's like gone more into detail about more of this techie stuff, more of this coding stuff on his own YouTube channel. And I don't disagree that he probably has more of an understanding than Elon Musk or, you know, most people, including myself. So if he just made those arguments and maybe just showed a little proof that he knew what he was talking about, I don't think that there would be an issue here. The issue is coming from the fact that he's using this point, using the, you know, I'm an engineer. And like you just saw in one of the clips, like, you're wrong because you're arguing with me because this isn't coming out of pocket like I'm an actual engineer. Well, Nikandros dived into, you know, does Mutahar have this experience and this background of education that would support him actually being an engineer from where he's from? That would back up these claims of him being an engineer where he is.
Like, it's a really good explanation of why, like, I picked engineering as, like, the road to go down when I was studying. I'm like...
So he would have an engineering degree.
I went to university for computer sciences, and that's it.
Education background, asking because a lot of CS knowledge. Yeah, well, I did computer engineering when I fucking went to college. That's what I did.
Okay, so at least a computer science degree.
I thought when I got into university for a while, and I dropped out like a semester in because I was like, okay, no.
Oh, he dropped out after a semester.
Like, I'm a dropout myself. I've never finished university.
I feel like there's a weird misconception. People think I'm like some fucking crazy degree holder. It's like, no.
I sure wonder why people might have that impression.
Is it bad if you don't get a STEM degree? Look, I'm gonna sound biased as fuck, but STEM degrees all the way. I'm gonna sound biased because, you know, as an engineer, like, you know, you want to get the degree that's gonna get you a job, you know, a good job. Not saying other degrees can't, but like, You gotta be smart.
You saw it right there. He's not outright saying, I have an engineering degree, but everything that he's saying implies that he is a degree holder. He'll go down the road later and say that he was an ex-engineer, that he was a dropout, but everything else that he says implies that, yes, he's a degree holder. So for him to act like, I don't know why, well, brother, I think you do. But you know, maybe he's just forgetting. Maybe he's doing a little oopsie daisy. But you'll also notice with these clips, they're riddled with this like higher than thou belief, like when he's talking about like having a STEM degree and like that's going to give you a better job. And he almost treats YouTube like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad it's not my full-time job. I'd rather be successful in these fields, like as if you're a higher value person by being in those careers. Like those are just, you're a better person and are better off doing those degrees than anything else. And maybe he's right on average, but it's the dripping like condescension that is kind of irking me as all of these clips are surfacing over and over again. And I think we can start to understand why certain things have been omitted or that he talks about things more vaguely, because it does seem like he's trying to bolster his self-image. And don't get me wrong, some of these clips are literally over a decade ago. Now, Nikandros has chronicled that leading up to like truly some clips from this year where he's claiming he's an engineer. And I think we can all understand that, you know, going over stuff from nearly a decade ago, usually, you know, we can chalk things up to, or at least assume, like benefit of the doubt, that people have changed over a decade. That's just human nature. That's kind of the expectation. But because this has been something that has been repeated over and over and over again, I think showing this entire, you know, timeline and those clips from truly over a decade ago, I think that's still providing utility as it's still showing the same argument across that decade. And I want to jump away from Nikandros for a second. Again, highly recommend, please check out his full-length video. It's going to cover a lot more than even I just talked about here. But there were more peculiarities about Mutahar, you know, over this stretch of time that a gentleman by the name of Harmful Opinions has recently brought to light as well. You guys might recognize Harmful Opinions. We've covered him a few times here on this channel, but he made, looks like 4 videos so far about Mutahar, and we're going to go over a few things from each of these here. So Harmful Opinions did a bit of his own research and found some interesting stuff about Mutahar, and these interesting things that he said over the course of time, talking about how much it matters to him, his YouTube channel, specifically the people that watch him, his fans. He calls them family, and he says stuff like YouTube is his main reason to continue living.
It is the core of who he is and the foundation of his self-worth.
I'll be honest with you guys, I have a reason to live, really, and that's you all. That's, you know, might sound grim, you know, you might be like, what are you trying to say? No, that's the truth. You know, I have a reason to really go on living.
Being watched and adored by strangers on the internet is entwined with his mental health to a disturbing degree.
You're important to me, you know. If I ever lost 1 subscriber, I feel heartbroken. If, you know, I do lose, I feel heartbroken because that's one person who used to like what I did, and they're gone.
But I think deep down, he still views his subscribers as literal family to him.
I'm not even kidding, I'd die for you. You all mean a lot to me. You have to realize that. Okay, this is a family to me. I treat you all as if you were my brothers and sisters, right? Like, that's how deep the connection is, at least for me, okay? I love you all.
Also, I just want to go over this, which is in his second video, but it relates to the same point about this, like, you know, connecting his mental health with his fan base.
Just 4 years ago, you were still calling your viewers your family.
I have to be honestly just thankful that we as a community are around, and you guys are basically my family at this point. Like, I consider you all extended family.
Harmful Opinions is showing, you know, Mutahar very clearly, like, talking to his audience in this very parasocial way from 11 years ago to just 4 years ago now. Now, there's less evidence, so you can take it at that face value. I just want to be very transparent about that. He could absolutely be right on the money. There's just less to support it. I will say, though, that I don't disagree and that I think it's very easy to get into that kind of, you know, headspace, especially with how YouTube is set up for a content creator. I've kind of learned this a bit over the last year of YouTube that I've been on. Like with the way that YouTube Studio is showing you stats and everything, your brain very quickly, especially if you're someone like me, I've got pretty bad ADHD, like it's diagnosed, it's medicated, but I just about completely lack an executive function, which means that I have to rely on external motivation. I can't really give myself internal motivation. So for me, that means that I was drawn to career paths in like entertainment, where I could get the external motivation from, you know, the people that are viewing it and giving me feedback. I think you can understand where the mental health aspect of this can start to get a little twisted, where if the motivation that I have and everything that, you know, keeps me going is essentially reliant on how well my videos do or the feedback that I receive from them, that can quickly turn into something very unhealthy where, you know, how a video does, regardless of if I put a lot of effort, it was a quality video, these kinds of factors, if the video just bombs, my self-esteem just plummets. But you don't have to have like intense ADHD like me to have this, you know, intertwining of your mental health in this job. I kind of rambled a bit. I'm going to cut out a bit of it, but in essence, this point that's being made about Mutahar being very emotionally vested, almost to like what looks to be a parasocial degree with his viewership, it's going to make a lot more sense that he is going to try to make himself look better than maybe he is. That's kind of supporting understanding the logic behind compulsively lying about being an engineer, like trying to elevate himself in the eyes of the people that he views as family, that he adores. He wants to impress them. Harmful Opinions follows up after this video with this short 4-minute one called Mutahar the Engineer Responds. And he makes an interesting discovery on Mutahar's YouTube channel.
He hasn't posted a video, he hasn't made a tweet. Exactly. You don't see anything. Like any good professional engineer, Mutahar found a technical solution. His response was to blacklist the word engineer and perhaps others from his comment sections. This is very easily confirmed by account switching or logging out. Let's leave a perfectly innocuous comment on his most recent video and include the word engineer, logged in as my Nightmare Club channel. Now let me switch back to Harmful Opinions. Let's sort by new to look at it. It is not there no matter how many times I refresh the comment section. And he did this just 3 days after uploading a video where he says this.
We're living in a time of censorship coming at us from both the government end and from private entities. And honestly, we have to find some way to fight back.
It appears that he has censored the word engineer, so people have resorted to using the soft Engina, if you will. You know, no hard R engineer in Mutahar's comment section. You can't get away with it anymore. But on top of that, Harmful Opinions pulls some interesting recent videos and recent comments that Mutahar has said, like in regard to how much he adores his comment section.
Do you remember saying this 4 months ago?
Yeah, I'm honestly serious here. Like, if my comment section didn't exist, I would live a much depressing lifestyle. I love my YouTube comment section. I actually really love you guys so much beyond all of it. Because to be honest, I can just, like, anytime I need a good laugh and a good happy day, I just read some of the stuff you guys say, whether you're, like, talking about the topic that I'm discussing or you're just straight up roasting me. It's always funny to just get down and be part of the community over here.
Just as a side note, Mutahar also in that clip is talking like he's PR trained or something. Like it's just always fun to be a part of the community. It just sounds like something a politician says during a rally speech. Like, I don't know. Now, one of the only issues I have actually comes from this accusation. That being Harmful Opinions believes that Mutahar has like blocked the word engineer, which is very funny, but that might not actually be the case. Now, I'd seen some comments about this, so I did a little digging, and this is the actual like YouTube help, you know, FAQ website talking about comments. Even for my channel, I have it set for basic comment moderation, and this is what's included in basic comment moderation. It will hold comments in YouTube Studio that may be spam, self-promotion, gibberish, or potentially inappropriate. These comments will only be published if you approve them. And it says down here, since these settings use AI to detect comments that should be held, they may not always get it right. Channel owners can choose to either ignore, remove, or approve the comments that appear on their videos. Now, because YouTube Studio is detecting potential spam, I'm thinking it may be possible that if enough people sent the word engineer, being that this drama kind of blew up, YouTube might have just automatically created a spam filter for the word engineer. Now, I myself have this basic filter, but even then it mentions this fact that you can go through and like approve these comments if they end up showing up. Maybe I have been spammed. Like I have a couple of videos that have done, you know, very well, like over 500,000 views. And I just went and checked the like held comments and I don't have any. Like there's no held comments. So either YouTube cleans them up themselves or I just haven't been spammed to a degree that it's been detected. Now, this doesn't mean outright that Mutahar didn't block the word. Like that is also very possible, but I think that there is also a legitimate other possibility, which is that YouTube did it themselves. In which case, you know, I'm sure Mutahar could clarify this, but it's very clear he does not want to touch any of this drama. And I should also say that even with Mutahar, let's say that he hasn't been the the one doing this filtering. Maybe it's just YouTube automatically doing it. Okay, Mutahar is still reacting to this drama. He has started privating videos that Harmful Opinions or Nikandros have used in their evidence to support the claims that they've been making. Now, this next part I didn't actually really go over with you guys, but this has to do with a point that Harmful Opinions made in his original video, the I Hate Mutahar one. This has to do with talking about Mutahar's video editing arc, and he makes a reference about him going and making some, documentary-esque video or, taking part in video editing for that while he was in Japan.
I go to Japan. I have work in Japan. There is a forest called Aokigahara Forest. Now, I'm on there doing a shoot. It's sort of like a documentary-esque look into Aokigahara Forest.
He tells us that he had to trek through that forest, and that he came across clothing which he picked up.
So, as we're trekking through the forest, I come across clothing. Now, the guy who's coming with us, who basically shows us the forest and navigates us through it, tells me that it's fresh. Incredibly sad sight to bear. And I picked it up and I held it for a little bit and I, soaked it all in.
To follow this up, Mutahar ends up saying something a little bit different 3 years later, and this is a video talking about Logan Paul's little venture into that same forest, and he said something a little different.
I have a little bit of history to this, and the reason I'm making this video is because I've been to the same forest, Aokigahara Forest in Japan. It is a very ethereal place, a place where a lot of people die.
And what does he say he did there?
Me visiting there at one point in my life, it is a very interesting place. I never had the entire intention to film it, never did.
He never intended to film there, and he never did film there. When you were there, as you told us before, to film a documentary-esque video on the forest.
But I've never seen any dead body, never seen it, but then again, I never really ventured too far into it. I got to see it firsthand.
You never ventured too far in to the forest you said 3 years ago you trekked through with a small crew.
So yeah, it kind of comes off as though he's shaping the story and the details of that story to kind of line up with the public's interest, the public's viewpoint on the situation. And through this story and through this call out that Harmful Opinions made in regard to this discrepancy, we now know that Mutahar is watching and watching very closely as he's watching Harmful Opinions videos because he privated the video of him originally talking about his trek through the forest and, picking up the clothing. That story, he ended up privating that video.
This time he's dipped into his video engineering expertise and has made at least one video I cited a clip from disappear. IRL Ghost Stories, Tokyo's stalking ghost, is now private, when it wasn't before my video went up.
So we know that he's paying attention, or at least he's got people that are paying attention on his behalf. And to kind of continue things, Harmful Opinions ended up doing a bit more of a deep dive into this film and video editing career that Mutahar was partaking in. And it seems very much like he has been way overhyping, the quality of his work. Harmful Opinions found this clip of Mutahar freaking out at someone, trying to flex, I've been flown here, and here because I put passion into my video editing. And then he proceeds to show off, an example of his incredible video editing skills. I'm going to show you a little bit of that pop off, and then you're going to see the video that he shows people to flex his expertise.
I work as an editor in movies and TV down in LA, Tokyo, fucking Dubai, Paris, because I'm passionate about what I do.
And then he shows an example of recent work on YouTube he's really proud of and had to work very hard on.
I wanted to kind of make it like a really popular, not like a popular one, but like a popular looking one. You know how they have it all professionally made, right? With a lot of effort put in. No, I sat there for 2 or 3 days nonstop.
And this video is going to show
recording it, editing it, putting it together because I wanted to reach the top and I wanted to fucking put myself, I wanted to make something. And I enjoyed making it. I fucking enjoyed every second of making it. I enjoyed recording multiple bouts of gameplay and having fucking fun.
That was such a raving success, right?
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Now, to Mutahar's credit, with that being, quite a few years old, it is not a crime to, in your past years, be that cringy. It's still really tough to watch, but to also give a bit of credit to Harmful Opinions, this is also kind of setting the stage for Mutahar very clearly having an ego tied to his work. He was flexing lowering the opacity of an image and the fact that he recorded different bouts of gameplay. Again, it is old Mutahar, but I'm hard-pressed to believe that even 10 years ago, that was film filmmaker editing worthy. Could be totally wrong. I'll leave it up to you guys. It's just, I'm kind of in agreement with Harmful here. Now, the last big example of Mutahar just seeming to stretch the truth to his benefit, as Harmful Opinions, again, has researched, has to do with Mutahar slightly implying, or I guess like leading on a bit too much into this idea that he was considering or in the process of joining the military.
Mutahar was asked about his ability to speak French, and he said this.
I can speak it, like, if you put a gun to my fucking head. Actually, no, I know enough, like, I could get by speaking French, because there was a period of my life where I was joining the Royal Air Force here, like the Canadian Air Force here. And if you join a government, like, military position, you have to know both languages, kind of. So military was like, this was like way back in the day. Like, this was like before high school. And
what? He does clarify.
This never happened.
Fair enough. I'll believe him on that.
But like, the only reason I looked at the Air Force is like, I couldn't afford university and I wasn't going to go through a loan. So I was like,
oh, when he said he was joining the Royal Air Force, he meant he was fantasizing about doing that as a way to pay for a degree.
And now, in typical fashion, as you've probably learned from the previous bits of this video, this story changes in a few interesting ways, like the fact that it happened after high school and that it wasn't the Air Force, it was the military. And these changes to this story came from an interview with Dr. K.
After high school, it was just... I actually applied to the Army, but, you know, that didn't go anywhere. Eventually, I just worked. I went to university for computer sciences, and that's it.
To be clear, in this interview, he does clarify that he was a dropout.
When I thought when I got into university for a while, and I dropped out like a semester in, because I was like, okay, no, I'm not doing... It's University of Toronto, like, the first semester that you went in, you paid this crazy amount. At this point, I started, you know, getting more work on the side. I started building up a career. So I was like, wait a minute, do I choose to go through this university path, which will work for me, or to go on the career path? That's when I realized, like, okay, I'm on that tightrope.
But at the time, his explanation was significantly different.
But the inconsistencies don't just stop there. There is a third and final piece that Harmful Opinions brings up. There is a third moment where Mutahar is talking about entering the military, and again, his story in regard to it changes, and it doesn't quite add up.
Let me just give you this scenario, okay? Like, real quick. This is sort of my, if I was in engineering.
If he was in engineering? Oh, maybe he was saying if I wasn't in engineering, I'd go into the military. No, this is about how he was going to get his engineering degree.
One of the things that I was actually doing one day was like, before college or anything, I actually thought about, you know, going into the military and shit. And when you go into the military, I was planning on going to the military to like study engineering.
But that didn't work out, he said to Dr. K. He said he didn't want to take a loan. So instead, was he just going to pay out of pocket for an engineering degree with his side gigs? What is happening here?
Now, a couple of things. I think this is doing a much better job of showcasing Mutahar. Like, very clearly, there's some lies here. If anything, this is kind of leading into he is or has been compulsively lying over the last decade, and things just, they change invariably. Maybe it's a memory thing, that I guess that's possible, but the way that they change, the way that he argues things and goes back and forth, it seems like more often than not, the rewrites of his history end up being to try to make him look better, to make him look cooler. And although the point of this isn't that there's necessarily like a stolen valor or anything like that, it's how Mutahar is shaping these arguments. And it just completely muddies the waters about like what was he even doing? What can he claim as some sort of expertise that he's, you know, going to argue with in the videos that he makes? But not only that, Harmful Opinions goes on a little side tangent to talk about this claim that he had made when he was talking with Dr. K about doing this tech work where he was actually doing more community service. Well, in a different clip, he talks about this same occupation and doing this, except he says that he's a pen tester and that he made a lot of money from it.
I was basically finishing up my, you know, high school diploma and everything. And at the time, you know, I worked a little computer programming job. I worked as a pen tester, you know what I mean? Like, I got into the whole thing early. I had a couple connections. It's a pretty important job, and I was good at it. I made a fair amount of money at it, and, you know, if I still did that job, shit, I'd be, you know, a lot more richer than I would be, you know, at any point in time. But bottom line is, I used to work a job like that out, and that was one of the careers that I had.
Back in the day, though, he was using that experience to make claims like this to hundreds of thousands of people.
Guys, I'm a computer, like, I'm a cybersecurity expert. I've worked in the business. I know what I'm doing, all right? And this is why I always give a disclaimer. Be careful, all right? Let the professionals handle it. I'm a professional. I got this.
A lot of people aren't bothered. They don't think it's weird. He was just a baby. He was merely a freshly 21-year-old toddler. He's surely grown out of it. Me, I think it's weird as fuck.
It's just over and over we're seeing examples of him manipulating the history of his life and what he's gone through to make it seem like he's cooler or more accomplished. And Harmful Opinions points out, like, yes, at around this time, although it being a very long time ago, like within like the last 10 years, he was still 21 at this point. Now, I still think that yes, you are very likely to change as a person, especially over a decade. Now, it does kind of slow down the older you get for sure, so I'm kind of leaving that up to you guys. And don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking Harmful Opinions for the arguments that he's making. I think he's got good logic when he's making these points. He gives himself an ample, buffer to say he's not sure. He's interested in knowing and hearing some clarifications about these stories that Mutahar has been telling. I just want to be very clear about what seems to have, a lot of evidence backing it up versus what is being argued with, I would say, decently sound logic. Now, to close out this part of the video, I wanted to show you guys the clip that Harmful Opinions closes his video out about Mutahar's military claims. And I think this is very much, again, kind of providing and circling back to the main point of this, which is that Mutahar is using, these stories and providing this like, oh, I have this experience, I have these years of work experience, and I've been very successful in these fields. It comes off as if he's doing a bit of grifting, that he's arguing, one side or the other, and is just, making stuff up to bolster his claims and use these alleged credentials to make those arguments more sound rather than actually having to go through the experience of actually defending your argument. But with that being said, I think this clip kind of speaks for itself.
Tons of grifty accounts online fell for this one fucking person lying about their, credentials as a Japanese university historian expert. Even though it took 5 seconds to Wayback Machine their account and
Yep, good tip. Thanks, Mutahar. I used it. Other tools as well are very useful for checking these things.
figure out, oh, they were just some random white guy from, some part in Indiana, okay? Some random dude on the internet. And even if you took their Japanese, name, put it into the Tokyo University or whatever university they claim to be, you couldn't even find that person. See, people don't even want to do the bare minimum of research. Nobody wants to do even 5 minutes of research. But they'll believe anything an account says.
So fucking true. Thank you, Muta. By the way, I've seen some people say he never claimed to be working as an engineer. Personally, I get a different impression from statements like this from 2023.
As an engineer, if I show up to my office and I fuck up, okay, I don't have a job anymore.
Pretty nuts self-report, if I'm being honest. As I'm wrapping up this video here, I just want to give another shout out here to Harmful Opinions and Nikandros. They have really carried much of the weight of what we were talking about today. I went over a lot of Harmful Opinions videos. I intentionally, for the sake of saving you guys time, did not include everything, but also to respect them for the research that they did, made sure to keep out most of their videos. And I highly encourage, if you're interested in this info, especially as I'm sure things are going to progress in the coming weeks here, check out Harmful's videos. They go into a lot more depth than even I covered with going over his recent stuff, as well as Nikandros. Like I said earlier, there is so much evidence and so many other points that I just didn't think needed to go in this video, but they're still incredibly interesting and well worth the watch. Now, if you did end up enjoying the video, like I said earlier, and you haven't yet, consider subscribing. We're very close to hitting 100K, which was the goal for the end of the year. And if we keep moving like we are absolutely going to hit that goal. So huge thank you to everyone that has come along in the last month here. Obviously, I would not be able to do this without you guys. So that's it for the video today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Adios. Peace. Bye.